Welcome back, my friend. Welcome to Echo Your English. I'm really glad you're here today, settling in for this long, calm English journey. For the next hour, we're going to explore English vocabulary in the most natural, gentle way possible, not by memorizing lists and not by studying like it's homework, but simply by experiencing the language. Think of this as a long walk together, a slow, comfortable walk where I talk to you in English and the vocabulary grows naturally around you. Today, I'll tell you stories, little moments from life, and quiet reflections. Inside each moment, you'll meet new words, and I'll help you understand them naturally and simply, but always through context. No pressure, no rush, just English flowing into your mind. So take a breath, relax your shoulders, and let's begin. I want to start with a word that I really love, glimpse. A glimpse is a quick look, a moment when you see something, but only for a second. You don't study it, you don't analyze it, you just catch a small piece of it, a tiny view. This morning, I opened my window and I caught a glimpse of the sky. It wasn't anything dramatic. Not a beautiful sunrise or a perfect moment, just a little slice of blue, soft and quiet. But that glimpse set the tone for my day. It made everything feel a little lighter. Sometimes a glimpse is all you need. Maybe think about your own life for a second. When was the last time you caught a glimpse of something that made you pause? A friend smiling, a dog running, a sunset behind a building. The moment is small, but it stays with you. That's a glimpse. Another word I want to bring in early is steady. Steady means stable, calm, not shaking, not rushing. When your progress is steady, it keeps moving forward little by little. And honestly, that's the best way to learn English. Steady, consistent practice. Not perfect, not fast, just steady. Right now, as you listen, your breathing might feel steady. Your attention might feel steady. Even your English, growing slowly, quietly, is becoming more steady each day. Now let me tell you a small story. It's simple, but it has one of my favorite vocabulary moments in it. Last week, I went to a little cafe near my home. It's nothing fancy, just a small place with wooden tables and a soft smell of coffee in the air. When I walked in, the barista, the person who makes the coffee, gave me a warm smile. She said, "Good morning. You look like you need something comforting today." That word, comforting, it means something that makes you feel safe, relaxed, or emotionally warm, like a soft blanket, like your favorite drink, like a familiar voice. The way she said it made me laugh because, yes, I did need something comforting that day. I ordered a simple coffee, nothing special. But the whole interaction felt comforting. And I realized that sometimes a word becomes powerful not because of its definition, but because of the feeling it carries. So as you listen today, try to feel the words. Let them land gently. Let them sit with you. While I waited for my coffee, another word appeared in my mind: anticipate. To anticipate something means to expect it, to feel something coming before it arrives. While I waited, I anticipated the warm cup in my hands, the smell, the taste, the quiet moment it would bring. You're probably anticipating new vocabulary during this hour, and that's good. Anticipation wakes the brain. It opens a door inside you, letting new words enter more naturally. When I finally sat down with my coffee, something peaceful happened. I looked at the people around me and I felt this little sense of belonging. Belonging means feeling like you're part of something, a place, a group, a moment. Even if no one knows you, you still feel connected. Learning English can create that feeling too. You start to feel like you belong more in conversations, in movies, in stories, even in the world. Little by little, you step into the language, and the language welcomes you in. While I was sitting there, I overheard someone at a nearby table say, "I'm trying to figure out my schedule." That phrase, figure out, is so common and so useful. It means to solve something, to understand it, to work it out in your mind. You figure out a problem. You figure out directions. You figure out your plans. You figure out why your phone suddenly stopped working. It's one of the phrases you'll use constantly in English, and it fits into almost any situation. In that moment, something else caught my attention. The sound of a spoon gently tapping a cup. The small rhythmic sound felt almost meditative. And that brings me to the next word, rhythm. Rhythm isn't just about music. It's any pattern of movement or sound that repeats in a gentle flow. Even your breathing has a rhythm. Even the way I'm speaking to you now has a natural rhythm. When you speak English, your rhythm matters more than your grammar. If your rhythm is natural, your speech feels more confident and more fluent. That's why long listening sessions like this one are so powerful. They shape your rhythm without you even noticing. As I sat there in the cafe, a soft breeze moved through the doorway. And I love the word breeze. A breeze is a light wind, gentle, mild, relaxing. A breeze doesn't push you. It just touches you lightly. And sometimes learning English should feel like that. A breeze, not a storm. Before I left, something unexpected happened. A stranger accidentally dropped her notebook on the floor. Papers scattered everywhere, little sheets sliding under tables and chairs. She looked embarrassed, but everyone around her started helping immediately. That's when the word glance appeared in my mind. Similar to glimpse, but slightly different. A glance is a quick look, usually intentional. You glance at your phone. You glance at your watch. You glance around the room. I glanced at the woman, and she glanced back with a grateful smile. One of the papers had a quote on it, a simple message. It said, "Do one small thing today that makes you kinder." I loved that. Kindness is one of the words that never loses meaning. Another word on the page said persistent. Persistent means continuing even when it's difficult. You keep going. You keep trying. You don't give up easily. And honestly, if you're listening to an 1-hour English episode right now, you are persistent, truly. Most people quit. Most people look for shortcuts. But you're here, walking steadily, word by word, building something inside yourself that no one can take away. Before we move into the next part soon, I want to give you one more word from that morning. Glow. A glow is a soft light, like a candle or the sky before sunrise, or a warm feeling in your heart. Learning gives you a glow. Understanding gives you a glow. Even a single new word can create a quiet glow inside you. Right now, you're glowing a little. Maybe you don't feel it, but your English feels it. It grows in these quiet moments. Let's keep going, slowly and steadily, like we're walking through a quiet park together. In part 1, We talked about words that come from simple moments, glimpses, steady progress, comforting experiences. Now I want to take you into a different kind of space, a moment that teaches vocabulary not through action, but through emotion and reflection. There's a word I love that captures this feeling: lingering. Lingering means staying longer than expected, remaining softly in the air or in your mind. A smell can linger. A memory can linger. Even a feeling, like calmness or sadness, can linger long after a moment has passed. Sometimes after you listen to English, especially long, relaxed English like this, the language lingers inside you. It stays even when the episode ends. That's the magic of immersion. You don't have to force the learning. You just let it linger. A few days ago, I had a lingering thought from a conversation with a friend. She told me she felt overwhelmed. Overwhelmed means there's too much happening at once. Too many tasks, too many emotions, too many responsibilities. It's like your mind feels full, heavier than usual. When she said, "I feel overwhelmed," I didn't need any details. The word itself carried the weight of the feeling. And sometimes that happens in English. One strong word expresses a whole situation. I asked her what was making her feel that way, and she said something simple: life is just loud. I understood that immediately. That brings us to another useful word: hectic. Hectic describes a busy, chaotic, fast-moving situation. A hectic day, a hectic schedule, a hectic week where everything feels urgent and rushed. When your days feel hectic, your mind becomes overwhelmed. And that's why call listening like this is powerful. It creates space. It slows everything down. After our conversation, I walked home and something caught my attention. The sky was turning a soft color. Not pink, not orange, but something in between. And there's a beautiful word for that: hazy. Hazy means unclear, a little foggy, soft around the edges. A hazy memory. A hazy morning. A hazy sky that looks like a watercolor painting. As I watched the hazy sky, I realized that my thoughts felt hazy too. Not in a bad way, just soft and quiet. And sometimes a hazy mind is peaceful, like the brain is gently reorganizing itself. I continued walking, and I passed a small garden. There was a single bench under a tree, and sitting there was an elderly man reading a book. I don't know why, but that moment reminded me of the word solitude. Solitude means being alone, but in a peaceful, comfortable way, not loneliness. Solitude is chosen, and it feels calming. In English, solitude carries a warm meaning. It's like a quiet moment you give to yourself, a pause from the hectic world. As I kept walking, I heard something that pulled me out of my thoughts: laughter. A child was running around the garden, and the sound of their joy filled the air. It reminded me of a wonderful word: playful. Playful means light, fun, full of energy, not serious. A playful dog. A playful moment with friends. A playful tone when someone is joking. Playful energy can lift your mood instantly. Even hearing someone else being playful can brighten your day. The child ran past me and her mother called out, "Be careful, don't wander too far." I love that word, wander. To wander means to walk without a clear goal. You just move, explore, drift from place to place. Your mind can also wander, like when you're thinking about too many things at once. Right now, as you listen, your mind might be wandering slightly, and that's okay. Learning often happens in those drifting moments. After walking a bit more, I reached a small lake. The water was still, quiet, smooth, almost like glass. And right there, the word serene came to me. Serene means calm, peaceful, free from stress or noise. A serene view, a serene expression, a serene morning where everything feels gentle. Sometimes, language becomes easier when your surroundings are serene. Your mind opens. You hear the rhythm of the words. You notice details. As I stood by the lake, I noticed a group of ducks swimming slowly, creating small ripples on the water. And that brings us to another soft word, subtle. Subtle means small, delicate, easy to miss, but meaningful. A subtle smile, a subtle change in someone's voice, a subtle difference between two colors. Subtle things are often the most beautiful because they require attention. And English is full of subtle differences, tiny variations in tone or meaning that give the language its personality. I continued walking around the lake, and I saw a man sitting on the grass sketching in a notebook. His face looked focused but relaxed, deeply absorbed in what he was doing. And that reminded me of the word absorbed. When you're absorbed in something, you're fully focused. The world around you fades a little. You can be absorbed in a book, absorbed in a conversation, absorbed in a peaceful moment like this. Absorption is one of the best states for learning. When you're absorbed, vocabulary enters your mind naturally. As I walked back home from the lake, I passed by an outdoor market. People were selling fruit, flowers, handmade soap, the kind of small, charming things that make a neighborhood feel alive. And that's when I remembered another vocabulary word, vibrant. Vibrant means full of energy, color, or life. A vibrant market, a vibrant personality, a vibrant city street. It's the opposite of dull or quiet. Vibrant places make you feel awake, inspired. At one of the stalls, something else caught my eye, a collection of small handcrafted objects. One of them was a tiny wooden bird. It wasn't perfect. The paint was slightly uneven, and the shape was a little rough. But somehow, those imperfections made it beautiful. It had character. Character, in this sense, means a unique quality, something special and personal. When something has character, it feels real, honest, authentic. And English, when spoken naturally, also has character. The small pauses, the soft mistakes, the natural rhythm, they all create personality. As I walked away from the market holding a small bag of fruit, I felt something simple but powerful. Content. Content means quietly happy, satisfied in a calm, gentle way, not excited, not energized, just okay in the best possible sense. Right now, maybe you feel a little content as you listen. You're learning slowly, naturally, without pressure. And this feeling, this sense of contentment, helps you remember vocabulary better. Vibrant means full of energy, color, or life. A vibrant market, a vibrant personality, a vibrant city street. It's the opposite of dull or quiet. Vibrant places make you feel awake, inspired. At one of the stalls, something else caught my eye. a collection of small handcrafted objects. One of them was a tiny wooden bird. It wasn't perfect. The paint was slightly uneven, and the shape was a little rough, but somehow those imperfections made it beautiful. It had character. Character, in this sense, means a unique quality, something special and personal. When something has character, it feels real, honest, authentic. And English, when spoken naturally, also has character. The small pauses, the soft mistakes, the natural rhythm, they all create personality. As I walked away from the market, holding a small bag of fruit, I felt something simple but powerful. Content. Content means quietly happy, satisfied in a calm, gentle way. Not excited, not energized, just okay, in the best possible sense. Right now, maybe you feel a little content as you listen. You're learning slowly, naturally, without pressure. And this feeling, this sense of contentment, helps you remember vocabulary better. Your eyes glide across a page. Your thoughts can glide from topic to topic. Learning English should feel like that sometimes. Not forced, not heavy, but gliding forward naturally. When I arrived at the bookstore, the door made a soft sound as I opened it, like a whisper, welcoming me in. The place was quiet, filled with shelves of books that looked like they hadn't moved in years. A soft lamp glowed in the corner, creating a warm and inviting atmosphere. The word that immediately came to my mind was cozy. Cozy means warm, comfortable, safe, a place that makes you want to stay a while. A cozy room, a cozy cafe, a cozy evening at home. Even a cozy atmosphere can help you learn better. When you feel comfortable, your mind opens, and English enters more willingly. In the bookstore, I started browsing the shelves, not searching for anything specific, just exploring. And that brings us to a very common and useful word, browse. To browse means to look through things casually, without a clear goal. You browse books, you browse a website, you browse a menu before choosing. Browsing gives your mind freedom. No pressure, just curiosity. While browsing, I found a little notebook with a cover that said, "Collect moments, not things." I smiled because that phrase connected with me. And inside the notebook, someone had scribbled a quote. "Life becomes meaningful when you pay attention." That made me think of the word observe. To observe means to notice carefully, to watch with intention. You observe people, you observe nature, you observe how your English improves over time. Observation is one of the strongest tools you have as a language learner. Sometimes you learn just by noticing how words are used around you. As I kept exploring the bookstore, I overheard two people talking. One of them was describing a book she loved, and she used a phrase that caught my attention. It resonated with me. This phrase is beautiful. To resonate means to connect deeply, emotionally, to feel familiar or meaningful. A story can resonate with you. A piece of music can resonate with you. Even a quiet moment can resonate with you. Maybe some of the words in this episode resonate with you, not just intellectually, but emotionally. After a few minutes, I moved to another section of the store. There was a shelf full of travel books, guides, maps, stories of people exploring the world. And the word that came to me was wanderlust. Wanderlust means a strong desire to travel, to explore, to see new places. It's one of those words that feels like a dream. When you say it, something inside you opens. Wanderlust is not about escaping life. It's about expanding it. I took a book from the shelf and flipped through its pages. Suddenly, I felt nostalgic. Nostalgic means remembering something from the past with warmth, maybe a little sadness. You feel nostalgic for childhood, for an old friend, for a place you once loved. Sometimes even a smell or a sound can make you nostalgic. As I stood there in the bookstore, feeling that soft nostalgia, another customer walked in. She looked around with a hopeful expression, like she was searching for something important. And the word that describes that feeling is yearning. Yearning is a deep desire, a longing for something you don't have yet. You can yearn for change, yearn for connection, yearn for a new start. Sometimes people learn languages because they yearn for a bigger world. After spending a long time in the bookstore, I decided to buy one small book, a collection of short reflections, not because I needed it, but because something about it felt meaningful. Meaningful means something has value, purpose, or emotional importance. A meaningful conversation, a meaningful gesture, a meaningful moment like you and I are sharing right now. An hour of calm learning. When I stepped back outside, the world felt brighter. The sun had risen higher, people were beginning their day, and the streets were filling with life again. There's a word that describes that moment when things start moving, waking up, becoming active. Stir. To stir means to begin to move or become alive after stillness. The city stirs. Your motivation stirs. Even your vocabulary can stir and wake up inside you. As I walked home, something else happened. A sudden, gentle realization. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was just a quiet understanding. And the word is clarity. Clarity means clear understanding, mental brightness. Clarity doesn't shout, it whispers. It appears when your mind becomes calm enough to notice simple truths. Maybe you've already felt some clarity during this episode, realizing that learning vocabulary doesn't have to be difficult or stressful. It can be slow, warm, human. When I reached my front door, I paused for a moment. The morning had changed me in subtle ways. My mood lifted, my energy softened, and my thoughts felt more open. And that leads to the last word for this part, renewed. Renewed means refreshed, restored, full again after feeling empty. You can feel renewed after a good conversation, after a long walk, after listening to something calming just like this. Your motivation can be renewed. Your confidence can be renewed. Even your connection with English can be renewed. Let's settle back into the journey. I want to introduce you with one more powerful word, navigate. To navigate means to find your way through a place, through a situation, or sometimes through complicated emotions. You navigate a busy street. You navigate a difficult conversation. You navigate the changes in your life. Learning English often feels like navigation. Not a straight road, but a journey with turns, pauses, and discoveries. Yesterday, I met a friend for lunch. It was one of those afternoons when the weather was perfect. Soft sunlight, a gentle breeze, and a feeling that the world was moving slowly. But when I sat down with her, I noticed something in her voice. There was a heaviness, as if she was carrying too much inside. That's when another word quietly appeared: underlying. Underlying means something hidden beneath the surface, something not immediately visible. An underlying worry, an underlying tension, an underlying hope. When my friend spoke, her words were light, but the tone, it had an underlying sadness. I asked her if everything was okay. She hesitated for a moment, a long, thoughtful pause. And that brings us to the next word: hesitate. To hesitate means to stop briefly before doing or saying something because you're unsure or nervous. We all hesitate in new languages too. When you're about to speak English and the words aren't ready, that small pause is hesitation. It's normal. It's human. After that little moment of hesitation, my friend opened up. She told me she had been feeling misunderstood. Misunderstood means people don't see your real meaning or your real feelings. It can be a lonely feeling, even when you're surrounded by others. As she spoke, something in my chest softened. I felt a surge of empathy, and the word that rose inside me was validate. To validate someone means to show them that their feelings are real, important, and understandable. When you validate someone, you're saying, I hear you. I understand you. What you feel makes sense. Sometimes validation is more powerful than advice. As she continued to share, she told me she had been avoiding certain conversations because they felt emotionally heavy. And that leads us to a very useful word: confront. To confront something means to face it directly, even if it's uncomfortable. You confront a problem. You confront a fear. You confront the truth. Sometimes confronting is the only way to move forward. After she talked for a while, I noticed something shifting in her. Her shoulders relaxed, her breathing slowed, and her eyes softened. She told me she felt relieved. Relieved means the pressure inside you has decreased. A weight is lifted. A stress dissolves. Your body loosens naturally. Relief can come from a single, honest conversation. As we finished lunch, my friend thanked me. She said, I really needed this. It gave me perspective. That word, perspective. Perspective is the way you see something, your point of view. Sometimes a small conversation can change your perspective entirely. And perspective matters, not just in life, but in English learning too. When you shift your perspective from I must be perfect to I'm growing, everything becomes easier. As we left the cafe, I watched how my friend walked. Her steps looked lighter, almost like a small burden had been removed. And that's when a new word came to me: unburdened. Unburdened means free from heavy feelings or responsibilities. There's something beautiful about that state, when your mind feels clear and open again. I continued walking alone, thinking about the conversation we had. The air had a different feel now. It felt crisp. Crisp means fresh, cool, clean. A crisp morning breeze, crisp air after rain, even crisp sound, clear and sharp. Crisp days often give you a sense of new beginnings. As I walked, I reached a street filled with small local shops. People were talking, laughing, negotiating prices, moving with purpose. And there's a word that describes that type of lively movement: bustling. A bustling street, a bustling market, a bustling cafe filled with noise and energy. Bustling places make you feel alive, like you're part of something bigger. At one of the shops, a man was arranging flowers, creating little bouquets. His hands moved with careful precision, and he hummed softly as he worked. The flowers were arranged in a way that felt almost magical, harmonious, balanced. And that brings us to another word, delicate. Delicate means gentle, easy to damage, soft, fragile. A delicate flower, a delicate moment, a delicate topic. Delicate things require careful attention, just like language. I watched him for a while, and when he finished a bouquet, he tied it with a small ribbon and held it up, admiring it. The expression on his face was pure satisfaction. That expression reminded me of the word fulfillment. Fulfillment means a deep sense of satisfaction, the feeling that something matters, that your actions mean something. People often seek fulfillment more than success. As I walked further, I'd reached a quiet area with benches. An elderly woman sat there feeding birds. Her movements were slow and thoughtful, and the birds gathered around her calmly. There was a soft grace in the moment, something tender. And the perfect word for that is nurture. To nurture means to care for something so it can grow. A plant, a child, a dream, even a skill like English. You're nurturing your English right now, gently, patiently. As I continued down the path, I saw a young couple taking photos of each other. They were laughing, adjusting angles, trying to capture the perfect shot. And there's a word for that playful, excited behavior: enthusiastic. Enthusiastic means full of excitement, energy, and positive emotion. Enthusiasm makes learning feel lighter. After a few more minutes of walking, the sky suddenly changed. Clouds moved in quickly, and the sunlight dimmed. The air became heavier, and that made me think of the word looming. Looming means something is approaching or coming soon, usually something big or uncertain. Looming deadlines, a looming storm, a looming decision. It's a word filled with anticipation. Rain began to fall softly, not strong, not dramatic, just a gentle, steady drizzle. The sound of rain always brings peace to my mind, and there's a beautiful word that captures that feeling: soothing. Soothing means calming, relaxing, comforting. A soothing voice, a soothing melody, soothing rain outside your window. And maybe this episode feels soothing to you, the words flowing slowly, the language entering gently, like rain. By now, your mind is already flowing with English, softly, naturally, without effort. And this next part will bring you even deeper into emotional vocabulary, reflective thoughts, and small human moments. I want to open this part with the word intention. Intention is the purpose behind your actions, the quiet reason you do something. Your intention might be to learn, to improve, to understand, to grow slowly and calmly. Right now, your intention is simple: to let English enter your mind in the gentlest way possible. A few weeks ago, I started a new personal habit. Each morning, before checking my phone or opening my laptop, I sit with a notebook and write down one intention for the day. Not a goal, not a task, just an intention. Something like, be patient with myself, stay curious today, speak gently. One morning, I wrote an intention that changed the entire flow of my day. Notice the small things. That intention led me into a moment that sparked the next word: encounter. An encounter is a meeting, often unexpected, sometimes brief, sometimes meaningful. That day, while walking through a quiet street, I encountered a stray cat sitting by a doorstep. It wasn't scared, just observing everything with calm eyes. When it saw me, it blinked slowly, almost like a greeting. I stopped, crouched down, and the cat walked over, brushing its head lightly against my hand. And there it was, a gentle encounter that made my whole day softer. After that moment, I continued walking with a warm feeling in my chest, and that warmth reminded me of another beautiful word, wholesome. Wholesome means something that feels pure, good, simple, emotionally healthy. A wholesome conversation, a wholesome movie, a wholesome moment with a stranger or an animal. Wholesome experiences nourish you from the inside. And that brings us to another important word, resilient. Resilient means able to recover quickly from difficulties. A resilient child, a resilient learner, a resilient mindset that keeps going even after mistakes. Resilience is more important in language learning than talent. After watching them for a while, I continued walking. The path took me past a small pond where leaves floated gently on the water. I stopped to watch how the ripples formed when the breeze touched the surface. And the moment reminded me of the word transient. Transient means temporary, something that doesn't last long. A transient feeling, a transient visitor, a transient moment of beauty. So many beautiful moments in life are transient, and that is what makes them precious. Standing there, watching the moving water, I felt a deep sense of contemplation. Contemplation is slow, thoughtful reflection, thinking deeply without forcing an answer to appear. You contemplate your future. You contemplate your choices. You contemplate your connection to the world. It's a quiet, valuable form of thinking. As I continued walking, I passed a bench with an elderly couple sitting side by side. They weren't speaking. They were just holding hands in silence, looking out over the pond. And that image brought me the word enduring. Enduring means lasting for a long time, strong enough to survive change and time. Enduring love, enduring friendships, enduring habits. Some things fade, but others endure beautifully. After leaving the park, I walked onto a busier street where people moved quickly, each one absorbed in their own world. I watched faces pass, some tired, some joyful, some distracted. And then something caught my attention. A woman standing outside a shop, smiling at her phone with such genuine happiness that it lit up her whole face. That expression reminded me of the word radiant. Radiant means glowing with joy, warmth, or health. A radiant smile, a radiant moment, radiant energy that spreads to others. Radiance is one of the quiet gifts we give each other without noticing. A few steps later, I saw a street musician playing a violin. The melody was soft, emotionally rich, almost like the music was telling a story. People walked past him, some stopping for a moment, others dropping coins into his case. The music created a feeling of melancholy. Melancholy is a gentle sadness, soft, poetic, peaceful. It's not the kind of sadness that hurts. It's the kind that makes you think deeply, that reminds you of what matters. Melancholy is one of the most human emotions. As I stood there listening, the musician opened his eyes and smiled at me briefly, a silent acknowledgement, a moment shared between strangers. And that leads me to another word, fleeting. Fleeting means very short, passing quickly, a fleeting look, a fleeting moment, a fleeting connection. These tiny, fleeting interactions often stay with us longer than we expect. After leaving the musician, I walked into a small bakery to buy something warm. The smell inside was incredible. Fresh bread, cinnamon, something sweet and comforting. I bought a small pastry and sat near the window to eat it slowly. As I ate, I thought about the word gratitude. Gratitude is the feeling of thankfulness, the awareness of good things, small or big. Gratitude turns ordinary moments into meaningful ones. When I finished eating, I felt lighter, calmer, and strangely inspired. And that final feeling brings us to the last word for this part, rekindled. Rekindled means brought back to life, restored after fading. A rekindled dream, a rekindled passion, a rekindled sense of purpose. Sometimes all it takes is a warm pastry, a quiet walk, a stray cat, or a child learning to ride a bicycle to rekindle something inside you. As the day continued, something inside me felt calm but awake, as if the world had softened its edges just enough for me to notice details I usually ignore. I crossed the street and walked into a quieter neighborhood where the buildings were older, filled with character, each one holding stories I could only imagine. A word rose in my mind as I walked. Intriguing. Intriguing means something that captures your curiosity, something interesting in a mysterious way. An intriguing story, an intriguing stranger, an intriguing idea that stays in your mind long after you hear it. The neighborhood felt intriguing. Every window, every doorway, every garden had something unique about it. It made me slow down, paying attention to things I usually rush past. As I turned a corner, I noticed an artist sitting on a stool with a sketch pad, drawing the buildings in front of him. His hand moved confidently, almost effortlessly. Whenever he paused, his eyes narrowed slightly in focus, not stressed, not frustrated, but beautifully concentrated. That moment brought me another word, immersed. When you're immersed in something, you are fully involved, completely inside the experience. Immersed in art, immersed in music, immersed in learning a language. You're immersed in English right now, gently surrounded by it, breathing it in without force. As I walked past him, he looked up briefly and gave me a small nod before returning to his sketch. The exchange was simple, but it held a sense of mutual understanding. That experience led me to another meaningful word, acknowledge. To acknowledge someone is to recognize them, to show that you see them, even in a small way. A nod acknowledges presence. A smile acknowledges kindness. A thank you acknowledges effort. These little acknowledgments make us feel human, connected. I kept walking and the weather changed again. The light dimmed and clouds gathered. Not heavy storm clouds, but the soft, cotton-like ones that stretch across the sky. There was something comforting about the way they drifted, slow and silent. It reminded me of the word tranquil. Tranquil means peaceful, calm, undisturbed. A tranquil lake, a tranquil morning, a tranquil mind. Tranquility isn't about silence, it's about ease. Eventually, the clouds shifted, revealing a soft glow of sunlight behind them. The sky brightened, and for a moment, everything looked washed in gold. That golden moment reminded me of the word luminous. Luminous means shining, glowing, full of gentle light. A luminous idea, a luminous face, a luminous moment that feels almost magical. The world gives us luminous moments more often than we realize. We just look too quickly to notice them. As I continued along the path, I passed a small cafe with tall windows. Inside, a group of people sat together, laughing with the kind of laughter that fills a room with warmth. One woman was telling a story so animatedly that even people across the room were smiling. That scene reminded me of the word infectious. Infectious doesn't only describe disease, it also means something that spreads easily, especially emotions. Infectious laughter, infectious excitement, an infectious smile. Joy spreads just as easily as worry, maybe even more easily. After leaving the cafe behind, I wandered toward a nearby riverside. The water flowed steadily, not fast, not slow, but with a rhythm that made my thoughts soften. On the opposite bank, I saw an elderly man painting the landscape. Every brushstroke looked intentional, deliberate, patient. The perfect word for that is meticulous. Meticulous means extremely careful with details, precise, thoughtful, paying attention to every small thing. A meticulous artist, a meticulous chef, a meticulous learner. Sometimes being meticulous helps, but sometimes letting go helps even more. It's all about balance. I watched the man paint for a while, and when he stepped back to admire his work, I noticed something beautiful in his expression: contentment, that quiet, peaceful happiness that comes when you're doing something you love. That feeling brought me to the word authentic. Authentic means real, genuine, honest, not pretending, not performing. An authentic expression, an authentic moment, an authentic version of yourself. People feel happiest when they are living authentically. As I walked further down the path, a light wind brushed against my skin, carrying the smell of the river and distant trees. It reminded me of another word: evoke. To evoke means to bring a feeling or memory into your mind. A song can evoke nostalgia. A scent can evoke childhood. A quiet moment can evoke reflection. Even words evoke emotions. Every word in this journey is shaping something inside you. Farther down the path, I saw a small group of teenagers sitting on the stones near the river, talking excitedly. One of them was explaining something with dramatic hand gestures, while the others listened with wide eyes. Their energy was bright, almost electric, and that made me think of the word dynamic. Dynamic means lively, energetic, full of movement. A dynamic group, a dynamic conversation, a dynamic personality. Life feels fuller when dynamic moments appear. After leaving them behind, I reached a quiet bridge overlooking the water. I leaned on the railing and watched the river flow beneath me. There's something special about watching water move. It feels like time itself is passing gently before your eyes. In that moment, a softer word floated into my mind: poignant. Poignant means emotionally touching, a mix of beauty and sadness. A poignant memory, a poignant goodbye, a poignant reminder of how fragile time is. Poignant moments stay with us long after they're gone. I stayed on the bridge for a while, simply observing the world. A bird flew low over the water, skimming the surface. The sound of distant voices blended with the rustling of leaves. Everything felt connected, quietly, effortlessly. That connection reminded me of the word harmonious. Harmonious means balanced, peaceful, in agreement. Harmonious colors, harmonious relationships, a harmonious moment in nature. Harmony is when things fit together in a way that feels right. Eventually, I continued walking, noticing how the air had cooled and how the day was slowly shifting into evening. There was a softness in the light now, a gentler tone, and the world seemed to slow down with it. A final word floated through my mind as I walked: serendipity. Serendipity means finding something good without looking for it. A happy accident, a pleasant surprise, meeting the right person unexpectedly, discovering a beautiful street by accident, learning a new word that feels perfect for your life. This entire long, gentle journey of English you're taking, it might also be a little serendipitous. The evening arrived slowly, almost shyly, as if it didn't want to interrupt the calm rhythm of the day. The sky began to fold itself into deeper colors, and the soft blue gradually blended into shades of lavender and gray. People around me seemed to move with a different kind of energy now, slower, more reflective, as if the world were gently exhaling. As I walked along the riverside, I noticed a street vendor closing his small cart for the day. He moved with a kind of unhurried ease, humming to himself as he folded the awning and packed away his items. There was something peaceful about the way he ended his work, and that brought me to the word graceful. Graceful describes movement that is smooth, controlled, and beautiful in a quiet way. A graceful dancer, a graceful gesture, a graceful ending to a long day. Even simple actions can be graceful when done with presence. I continued walking until I reached a small wooden pier. The water beneath it was darker now, touched by the colors of the sky. As I stepped onto the pier, it made a soft creaking sound, a familiar, almost nostalgic sound that made me pause for a moment. And that's when another word surfaced: reverie. Reverie is a kind of gentle daydream, a state where your mind drifts calmly through thoughts and memories. A quiet reverie on a peaceful evening. A reverie inspired by music. A reverie that softens the heart. I stood there in my own reverie for a while, letting my thoughts move wherever they wanted without guiding them. There's something healing about that, letting your mind wander without pressure or purpose. Not far from the pier, I saw a couple walking hand in hand. They weren't talking, they were simply sharing the moment. Their silhouettes against the dimming sky created a scene that felt almost cinematic. And that brought me to the word silhouette. A silhouette is a dark outline of a person or object when the light is behind them. The silhouette of a tree, the silhouette of a bird, the silhouette of two people who feel close, even in silence. Silhouettes have a quiet beauty. They tell stories without showing details. As the couple disappeared into the distance, the air changed again. It grew cooler, but still pleasant, and a soft stillness settled over the area. That stillness made me think of the word hushed. Hushed means very quiet, almost silent, as if the world is whispering. A hushed room, a hushed forest, a hushed evening where even your breath feels loud. Hushed moments make you more aware of yourself. After standing there for a while, I sat down on the edge of the pier, letting my feet dangle over the water. The surface gently reflected the sky, imperfectly but beautifully. The ripples moved in patterns that reminded me of another word, mesmerizing. Mesmerizing means incredibly fascinating, so interesting or beautiful that you can't look away. A mesmerizing view, a mesmerizing melody, a mesmerizing conversation. The world is full of mesmerizing things when you slow down enough to notice them. As I sat there, a small boat drifted by. Inside it was a man who looked like he had spent the whole day on the water. His face was calm, but his eyes carried stories, the kind that only time and solitude can create. Something about him reminded me of the word weathered. Weathered describes something that has been shaped or worn down by time, wind, or experience. A weathered face, a weathered building, a weathered heart that has learned to endure. Weathered doesn't mean broken. It means strong in a quiet, meaningful way. As I headed home, the quiet of the night followed me like a gentle companion. The streets were mostly empty now, lit by soft golden lamps that made everything feel warmer than it really was. My footsteps echoed lightly, and with each one, I felt the day settling deeper inside me, becoming part of my memory. There was a moment, just before turning the final corner, when I stopped and looked up at the sky. It was darker now, sprinkled with faint stars, barely visible, but still present. And something about that almost invisible starlight made me think of how learning works. How progress isn't always bright or obvious. Sometimes it's quiet, subtle, like a star you can only see when you're not trying too hard. And that thought filled me with a sense of reassurance. Reassurance is the feeling that everything is okay, that you're on the right path even if you can't see all the results yet. You might not always notice your English improving, but it is. Word by word, image by image, feeling by feeling. Just like the stars, your progress shines even when it's faint. As I reached my door, I felt this gentle wave of closure. Closure is the feeling that something has completed itself in a satisfying way. Not dramatic, not loud, just naturally finished, like the final page of a good book. This long journey we've taken together, these words, these scenes, these emotions, has reached its closing moments. But instead of ending, it feels more like opening a small window inside your mind, a window where English can breathe a little more easily. Before I stepped inside, I took one last breath of the cool night air. It tasted clean, refreshing, almost symbolic. And the last word I want to share with you today rose gently in my mind. Carry. Not physically carry, but carry in your heart. Carry these words with you. Carry this calm. Carry this confidence. Carry the feeling that English is not something you fight with, it's something you grow with. Thank you for walking with me through this hour of gentle immersion. If this journey felt meaningful to you, or if it brought you peace, I hope you'll stay with this channel, subscribe, and return for more moments like this. Your English is growing beautifully. Keep going, gently.